10 years ago, I watched my whole life die in red letter across a computer screen. 6 hours earlier, I was a billionaire with a corner office and a god complex, and by sunrise, I was the headline villain. People passed around like a joke. Let me ask you something right at the start. If everything you built disappeared in one night, who do you think would still show up for you? My name is Richard Montgomery, and this is the part of my life I never planned on telling. The part where the only people who stood up for me were my black maid and her daughter, a 20-year-old college kid. I almost laughed at until she did what no high-priced expert could. Back then, I ran Montgomery Innovations out of a glass tower that literally looked down on the city. 63rd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, climate-controlled perfection. The kind of place where the air itself felt expensive. People like to say I was self-made, sharp, relentless. They also like to say I didn't suffer fools. Sounds impressive, right? What they really meant was, I'd forgotten how to be a person. The night it all went down, I was standing in my office with a glass of bourbon, watching the city lights, and rehearsing the speech that was going to cement my legacy. We were about to launch our AI predictive engine, my crown jewel, the one that would make us untouchable in financial forecasting. Billions on the line, global coverage, everybody watching. There was a knock at the door. Mr. Montgomery. It was David Harper, my IT director, clutching a tablet like a life preserver. I could see the sweat on his forehead. "This better be important," I said, without looking away from the window. "It is. Sir, our security team picked up unusual activity around the new algorithm. It might be a breach. I recommend we run a full diagnostic before tomorrow's launch. Maybe delay the rollout if we have to." Delay. That word. I set the glass down, turned slowly, gave him the look I was famous for. The one that said, "You're dangerously close to wasting my time." "David, do you have any idea what is riding on tomorrow? We've announced we've locked investors. We've got the press circling. We are not pulling the plug over a maybe." He tried to push back. I cut him off with a hand. "Run your checks, patch whatever. But the launch goes ahead. I didn't build this company by jumping at shadows. You ever rewatch a moment in your head and want to reach in and slap yourself? Yeah, that was one of them. Hours later, the building was quiet. Just that low mechanical hum. My assistant had gone home. Cleaning staff had done their rounds, and it was just me and the glow of my monitor. 11:47 p.m. First flicker. I frowned. Tapped the keyboard. The screen went black. Then the messages poured in. Error logs. System alerts. Blocks of code cascading faster than I could read all of it, screaming that something was wrong. My office line lit up. My cell phone buzzed, everything ringing at once. "Montgomery," I snapped, Sir Harper's voice raw. "We have a situation. The servers are crashing. All of them. It's spreading through everything tied to the AI. We're trying to stop it, but it's like..." He trailed off. "Like what?" Like it was built to do this. By the time I hit the server floor, it looked like a war zone. Red blinking lights, people shouting commands. One of the racks was literally smoking. They showed me what they'd found. A back door that had been asleep inside our system for months now, awake and tearing through everything, corrupting, erasing, and worse, copying. Our algorithm, our investor data, our proprietary tools, all streaming out to an unknown destination. We fought until dawn. We lost. By 6 a.m., the damage was catastrophic. Key systems unrecoverable. Competitors already getting anonymous drops of our tech. Social media picking up rumors. By 8 a.m., news vans were outside. By 9, our stock price was gutted. And by noon, the board wanted my head. The emergency meeting felt unreal. I'd sat at that same table 1,000 times as the untouchable one. This time, the energy was different. tight rehearsed like everyone had gotten the script, except me. Preston Hale sat near the far end, tan polished that practiced sympathetic look on his face. He'd been my partner since the early days, the charming one. The one cameras loved while I did the hard math behind the scenes. Richard, he began, was soft. We all respect what you've built. But this breach, this collapse, it all happened under your leadership. Investors are panicking. We've lost billions on paper, and confidence in your decision-making is gone. We need decisive action. I recognized the setup as he said it. Not because I was smart, because I'd used that same tone on people I wanted out. So this isn't about fixing the problem. I said this is about finding a scapegoat. Don't make this personal. One of them said. It is personal, I shot back. This company is my life. Preston's eyes had that cold shine. We're offering you a dignified exit. Severance statements to the press. You step down, let us stabilize. And if I refuse, he didn't even flinch. Then we vote. They voted, 12-1. People I'd hired, mentored, made rich raised their hands against me without blinking. Security was already waiting outside the door. Hand over your access cards. We'll send your belongings. Thank you for your service. Walking out of that building with security at my shoulders, reporters screaming questions, cameras shoved in my face. It felt like an execution. Did you ignore warnings? Are you responsible for the breach? How does it feel to lose everything? You know what I mean when I say the world loves a fallen king. That night, the penthouse was so quiet it hurt. No staff, no calls that weren't hostile, no wife. She'd left months before because, in her words, I'm tired of being married to a ghost in a suit. No son. That wound was older, deeper. I sat there in a living room the size of some people's whole houses, with my laptop open on the coffee table, staring at dead systems I no longer had permission to access. That's when I heard the vacuum. Amara stepped into view. Late 40s, dark skin, calm eyes, wearing the same uniform she'd worn for years. She'd been cleaning that penthouse quietly, invisibly, 3 times a week. I never knew her last name without checking payroll. I never asked. Mr. Montgomery, she said softly, carrying a small tray. I brought you some tea. I hope that's all right. I looked at the cup, then at her. That's when it hit me that she looked worried. Not nervous about the boss worried, but human worried. I'm sorry about what they're saying, she added. It doesn't feel right. I mumbled something like thank you, which felt pathetic compared to what she deserved. She turned to leave, then paused. My daughter Zuri. She's real good with computers, always fixing things for people, doing all that code and system stuff. If you ever want someone to take a look, I can ask her. There it was. The first lifeline. Offered by someone I rarely saw as more than background. I almost dismissed it. A community college kid instead of a Silicon Valley security team. Yeah, that happened. That reflex, that arrogance. But I was too tired to sneer. That's kind of you, I said. Empty words. She nodded and left. The next evening, somewhere between anger and numb, I heard the door again. Mr. Montgomery, a different voice this time. She walked in like she belonged in the room. Zuri, early 20s. Brown skin, natural hair pulled back in a bun. Jeans sweater. Laptop bag. No pretense, no fear. My mom's worried about you, she said. She asked me to stop by. I won't stay if you don't want me to. I tried to brush her off. I'm fine. She looked at me. Really looked. With respect, sir, you don't look fine. Her eyes landed on the laptop. Is that your old system? What's left of it? She stepped closer. Maybe I can take a look. 4 simple words. If it were you, what would you have done? Laugh. Throw her out. Say yes out of desperation. I hesitated, then gestured toward the chair. Go ahead. She opened her own machine, started connecting drives. pulling logs, asking short, precise questions. No small talk, no fake respect, just work. Hours went by. Amara came in quietly once with coffee, watching her daughter with that mix of fear and pride only a parent understands. I didn't sleep. I just watched lines of code and paths and logs flash across Zuri's screen. Finally, close to dawn, she said, "Mr. Montgomery, this wasn't just some random hack. It was a setup." She showed me a dormant back door inserted months earlier, triggered to activate that specific night tunneling through our own security. A pattern in the code, comments variable names, weird little habits, a fingerprint. "This person knew your system from the inside," she said. "And they weren't trying to just ruin you, they were stealing from you." She aligned timestamps from the backdoor activity with access logs. Here she pointed. Fridays late at night, always the same terminal. I looked at the ID and felt my stomach drop. Preston's private terminal. For a second, the room tilted. It was like my brain tried to reject what my eyes were seeing. "He set me up," I said. Zuri didn't rush to comfort me, didn't dramatize it. "That's what the data says. But if you want this to hold in court, we need more than what's on your personal machine." Pattern interrupt. This is the part where you expect me to explode, to swear revenge, to go full movie villain. I didn't. I just sat there feeling every inch of my own stupidity. "Why are you doing this?" I asked her. She shrugged lightly. "Because what they did to you is wrong. Because my mom says you're better than what they're making you out to be. And because I'm tired of people like Preston thinking they can do whatever they want. Just because nobody calls them on it." She said it so simply it punched right through my pride. She explained we needed the off-site backups, the log archives Preston might not know existed. I told her there were no secret backups. She raised an eyebrow. "With all due respect, that's cute," she said. "Every good IT director keeps backups, even if the CEO doesn't know about them." We tracked down Harper. Not in a corner office this time, but in a cheap coffee shop, staring into a cup like it owed him answers. At first he panicked when he saw me. "I'm not here to kill you," I said. "I'm here to ask you one question. Did you keep off-site backups?" He tried to deny it. Then he saw Zuri understood she'd already followed his digital footprints, and finally admitted it. "Storage facility in Newark. Unit number. Access code." We drove out there, the three of us. Concrete hallways, metal doors, humming fluorescents. Unit 247 open to boxes, old furniture, and 3 server towers quietly running like nothing had happened. Zuri hooked in hands, moving fast. "This is it," she murmured. "All your logs, all your access records. They never wiped this." We spent hours in that gray box. Amara brought sandwiches. I paced. Zuri dug. Then she spun the laptop toward us. "Here," she said. "Preston's logins, his remote commands, the malware code with his unique patterns, the transfers to competitor servers. It's all chained together. He didn't just sabotage you, he sold you out and timed it so the board would think it was your negligence." That was the twist. I hadn't been sunk by some faceless enemy. I'd been gutted from the inside by the man I'd called partner. You know what's worse than betrayal? Realizing you built the stage, handed them the knife, and turned your back on your own. We took all of it to a lawyer named Jennifer Walsh. Smart, calm, with that tired anger of someone who'd seen too many rich men get away with things. "You have a very strong case," she said. "But it won't be fun. Preston will smear you. Smear her question how she got the data. Call it hacking. Call it fake. If we do this, you all go through hell first." I looked at Zuri. She didn't flinch. "I'm in," she said. "He doesn't get to win like this." So we filed, and everything exploded. Headlines, talk shows, think pieces. Disgraced CEO blames black partner. Genius maid's daughter, or illegal hacker people, picked sides without knowing anything. Preston went on camera acting wounded. He praised my past brilliance, said I'd sadly cracked under pressure, painted Zuri as some unstable amateur who manipulated me. He had the best PR money could buy. Then came the envelope at my hotel door. A printed photo of Zuri in a bar, edited to look like she was drunk and wild, plus a note. Drop the case or this goes everywhere. Cheap trick. Wrong target. We brought it to Jennifer. She brought it to the judge. The judge's face could have cut glass. Any further attempts to intimidate witnesses, she said, and people will go to jail before this trial even concludes. When the trial finally began, the courtroom was packed. Reporters, former employees, random people who like watching rich men burn. I sat there next to Zuri and Amara, feeling like my entire life was on a projector. Preston's lawyer Blackwell got up first. Expensive suit smug tone. This is a simple case, he told the jury. A once successful CEO who cannot accept his own failure, inventing a conspiracy relying on the so-called findings of an unqualified young woman with no degrees and a personal stake in his comeback. Then it was our turn. Jennifer laid it out slowly. The code signatures, the access logs, the off-site servers, the pattern tying everything to Preston. Zuri took the stand. She looked small up there, but her voice didn't shake. She explained step by step how she'd followed the code. Talked about digital fingerprints, unusual patterns, timestamps, terminal IDs. Broke it down so even the most non-technical juror could follow. Then Blackwell cross-examined her. You're 20. Correct. You attend community college. No Ivy League credentials. No fancy titles. Yes, she said. You accessed company servers without formal authorization, didn't you? I accessed backups from the IT director to expose a crime, she said. He smirked. So in your mind, you're judge, jury, and cybercop. She looked him dead in the eye. No. In my mind, I'm someone who understands code, and I followed the truth. Your client is the one who played God with people's lives. He tried to drag Amara into it, imply we'd paid them off, twist everything. Then he made the mistake of calling Zuri just a girl playing hacker. You could feel the whole room tighten. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just said, my mother has cleaned offices for people like your client her whole life, and I have watched those people look right through her. I am not going to let another man in a suit pretend the only voices that matter belong to people like him. The evidence is real. If you don't like that, it came from me. That's your problem, not the data's. Pattern interrupt. He shut up. Just like that. Experts backed her analysis. Harper confessed about the backups. Even an FBI specialist confirmed the logs weren't fake. Preston tried to talk his way out. Blamed rogue staff, claimed data tampering. But every story he told collided with a timestamp or an email or a log. The jury came back with guilty on every major count. Sabotage, theft, fraud. On the civil side, they restored ownership of the algorithm to me and granted a mountain of damages. And in that moment, standing there with the chance to claw back money, I realized something that stung more than losing it all had. If I just took the cash and rebuilt my old life, I'd prove Preston right about me. So when the judge listed the damages, I cleared my throat. Your Honor, I have a request. I want the monetary damages placed into a fund for students from underprivileged backgrounds studying technology. And I'd like it on record that Zuri Williams is co-creator and primary restorer of the recovered algorithm. She gets legal recognition for what she did. The judge studied me for a long second, then nodded. Request granted. You know that movie-style redemption swell? Real life isn't that clean. But I'll tell you this. When we walked out of that courthouse, I wasn't the same man who'd walked into it months earlier with a chip on his shoulder and a taste for blood. I was tired, humbled, and for the first time in my life, actually teachable. Zuri and I started building something new with Amara at the center of it, not just as moral support, but as a founder. We named it Amara Technologies. People asked why. I told them the truth. Because when I lost everything, she came to work anyway, treated me with kindness, and lent me the person who saved my life. If that's not the heart of a company, what is that? We didn't rent a skyscraper. We set up in a worn-down building in a neighborhood most venture capitalists pretend doesn't exist. We hired people who'd been chewed up and spat out by companies like mine. We gave equity instead of empty pizza parties. We tied our algorithm to ethics, refused deals with vultures, walked away from money if it meant hurting people we'd never meet. Midway through that first messy year, standing in a cramped office with flickering lights, I remember telling our tiny team, stick around, because what happens next will blow your mind. And for once, it wasn't a line for investors. It was a promise to myself that if I got a second chance, I wasn't going to waste it being the same man I'd been when I had a private elevator. Of course, not everybody liked our comeback. There was a break-in at our office. Servers ripped out, files tossed. We knew what it was. A warning. A tantrum. Zuri had already mirrored everything in triplicate across secure storage. People like him only know one play, she said. Destroy what they can't control. Instead of hiding it, we went public again. Called it out for what it was. The FBI showed up. The press ate it up. Preston's remaining reputation went up in flames. Years went by. We grew not into a giant, but into something solid. Our scholarship program put kids through school. Our interns turned into engineers. Our neighborhoods changed. Zuri got invited to conferences as the ethical AI pioneer and the prodigy who took down a corporate saboteur, and every time she rolled her eyes and went back to work, I was invited back to speak at business schools, and I told them this. The first time I stood here, I told you to be ruthless. I told you not to care who got hurt as long as you hit your numbers. I was wrong. Not a little wrong. Catastrophically wrong. If your success depends on people staying invisible, you're not a leader, you're a parasite. Some of them got it. Some of them laughed under their breath. Here's the part that tends to start arguments, so I'm asking you directly. Do you think companies should be forced to build systems that don't chew up the people at the bottom? Or do you think what we did, turning lost billions into scholarships, giving decision power to a black maid's daughter, legally locking our company into ethical rules, is unrealistic or just PR? Be honest, because 10 years after that red screen, I can tell you which version of my life lets me sleep. Now, I work in a building that used to be a community center, and our logo hangs over doors that are open to kids whose names sound nothing like the ones in my old boardroom. Amara's on the board. No one talks over her. Zuri's the CEO. I answer to her more than she answers to me. And that feels exactly right. Sometimes at night, I stand on our roof and think about that first moment in my penthouse when I almost told her no. If she'd walked out that day, if I'd stayed the man who thought he knew everything, I'd probably be bitter broke, maybe in prison. Instead, I'm here telling you a story that still scares me, because it makes me admit how blind I was. So let me leave you with this, and I really want you to answer in the comments, not just think it and scroll away. If you lost everything tomorrow, who would have the right to say, "Can I take a look, and would you actually listen to them?" Have you ever written someone off because of their job, their skin color, their school, their accent, their address, only to realize later they saw more clearly than you ever did? Do you believe people like Zuri, self-taught, underestimated from working-class families, should have keys to the rooms where decisions are made? Or are you still comfortable with those rooms being reserved for people who look and sound like I used to? Tell me if you think I went too far. When I gave up the settlement money, when I put Amara's name on the door, When I gave equal power to a girl, everyone dismissed. Tell me if you think this kind of second chance should be normal, or if I only got it because I was rich before I fell. I want to hear if you think this is justice or just a tidy ending to a messy story. Drop your thoughts below. Argue with me. Share your own stories about the person nobody respected, who turned out to be the one who saved everything. And if this hits something in you, that little voice that says, maybe you've been looking down too long, hit subscribe. Send this to the one person you know who needs a reminder that real power isn't built on glass towers. It's built on who you choose to see when you think nobody matters.